Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, multiple people, including a former NASCAR driver, are killed after a plane crashes in North Carolina. And the governor gives a Team Kentucky update from Frankfort. We'll take a look at some of what he discussed.
And it's been a cloudy and dreary day throughout eastern Kentucky. Now we're talking about shower chances this evening. Details coming up.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A plane crash at an airport in North Carolina has resulted in multiple deaths. The Cessna C-550 airplane crashed at Statesville Regional Airport at approximately 10:15 this morning. Police now say former race car driver Greg Biffle and members of his family were among the 7 people who died.
We got a report of a corporate jet that crashed off the end of the runway on the east end. When actually I came out, it was already fully involved. We've had multiple agencies, as you said, come. The FAA arrived about 12 o'clock today. They're taking over the scene. They're taking over the investigation.
Greg Biffle won more than 50 races across NASCAR's 3 circuits, including 19 at the Cup Series level. He also won the Trucks Series championship in 2000 and the Xfinity Series title in 2002. A person of interest has been identified in connection to the deadly mass shooting at Brown University, and police are actively searching for them. The break comes just days into a massive manhunt for the gunman who opened fire inside a classroom on the university's campus in Providence, Rhode Island, Saturday. 2 students were killed and 9 others were wounded in the attack.
The level of concern is how is this subject fleeing custody, and is he on foot? Is he in a wooded area? Is he in a car? Is he staying at somebody's location? And what's going on right now is you have several teams working together to see if they could track this individual down and use whatever type of technology they can to see what his location is.
Sources tell CBS News that law enforcement is now investigating possible connections between the mass shooting at Brown University and the targeted killing of a physics professor at MIT 2 days later. In Tennessee, students' behavior may soon be recorded for state review. It's part of a proposed bill from a lawmaker who is hoping to stop the next in-school tragedy. The Early Behavioral Intervention and Reporting Act looks to schools to identify and log behaviors that show health, safety, and behavioral issues shown by students in school. The legislation calls for these instances to be logged and kept on a computer system, and at the end of the year have numbers submitted to the Department of Education to document how many instances of these issues are happening throughout Tennessee.
The bottom line is to give the teacher as much information as possible so they're in position to help that child and to help other children be safe and to get them whatever help they need.
The proposed bill was introduced by lawmaker Bill Powers. Well, this week started off cold, then it began to warm up, but temperatures going to keep bouncing around before the weekend. Meteorologist Eric Dean has our first look at the forecast.
Yeah, they're going to continue to go up and down as we go throughout the next few days. The big story right now, that shower chance is picking up here. As noted on First Alert Live, pinpoint Doppler radar will go ahead and pinpoint over towards portions of Laurel County, a little bit of Pulaski County, Wayne County, Kentucky, over towards portions of McCreary County, as well as Whitley County. And if you look over towards the Somerset area, I want to draw your attention to this because you are seeing a little bit of yellow on the radar right here. That's where we're seeing that heavy rain being picked up at this hour. Now, we are seeing more rain across the western portion of the Commonwealth. Earlier, not too long ago, had a tornado warning in effect near Paducah. This is the line that's going to be pushing its way into eastern Kentucky as we go into the evening and overnight hours. We're going to see 2 fronts push through. The first one is going to clear out that precipitation. The second one is going to drop the temperatures. Now, with that, majority of the Commonwealth is under a marginal risk for severe weather or a level 1 out of 5. From Moorhead to Monticello is under that marginal risk. The only concern that I have, albeit the thunderstorm chances, is a little bit of heavy wind. Some places could see wind gusts as high as 40 miles per hour, something we're going to monitor very close. Right now, we're seeing temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. Some places made it into the low 60s today. We'll get back into the 30s for tomorrow, but that's a one-day wonder type event. Details of the first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. New reaction from Governor Beshear after Ford announced plans to repurpose a battery plant in Kentucky. The switch up will lead to roughly 1,600 Blue Oval SK workers being laid off. Last week, Ford and SK announced they are ending their partnership, and Ford will take over all the Kentucky battery plants, including one in Hardin County. Ford then shared they are shifting from EV batteries to batteries designed for data centers.
What we've done is we've drawn about a 45-minute drive radius from Glendale, and we've compiled all of the jobs announcements that we've made. We're looking at all the companies out there that are hiring, and there are a lot of really good spots with really good companies.
Federal law requires employees get 60 days on the job after receiving a layoff notice. Ford is planning to bring 2,100 jobs to the plant once it is retooled. We'll have more from the governor's briefing in our next half hour. Medical experts provided tips on how to protect your children from increasing cases of whooping cough in West Virginia. One doctor we spoke with says that the best way to prevent getting whooping cough is to stay up to date with vaccinations. He also recommends staying home and avoiding close contact with others to prevent the disease from spreading. The best thing you can do if you think you're getting sick, go to the doctor.
If you think you have it, go to the doctor. If you know you are exposed to someone who had it, go to the doctor, because they can treat you before you get sick to keep you from getting sick.
Doctors say that early symptoms of whooping cough can be like a common cold until the coughing gets worse. Doctors say that especially for infants, it could even cause the throat to close up, so it's very important to stay proactive. Yesterday, we reported there were 2 new cases of whooping cough in Floyd County. The man accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was back in court today for an evidentiary hearing. Attorneys for Luigi Mangione are seeking to block prosecutors from using evidence allegedly found in his backpack, including a 3D printed gun, a silencer, and journal writings that appear to implicate him in the killing during his arrest. Mangione could face life in prison if convicted of second-degree murder. Brian Walsh was sentenced to life in prison without parole for killing his wife nearly 3 years ago. That's the mandatory punishment for first-degree murder in Massachusetts. The judge in the case also ordered Walsh to serve consecutive prison sentences for 2 other convictions that he pleaded guilty to ahead of the trial. A jury convicted Walsh of first-degree murder earlier this week, finding he had planned to kill his wife, Anna Walsh, just hours after ringing in the new year in 2023. Her body was never found. President Trump is opening the door for expanded medical uses for marijuana. A Gray Media White House correspondent John Decker has more on that.
For the past 5 decades, marijuana has been deemed a Schedule I drug. But on Thursday in the Oval Office, the president, with the stroke of a pen, lowered the drug classification for marijuana. Since 1970, marijuana has been classified as a Schedule I drug, the most stringent classification because of what the DEA determined is its high potential for abuse. But an executive order signed by President Trump lowers marijuana to a Schedule III drug, a category for substances with a moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence.
This is really something having to do with common sense. And it's something having to do with the fact that so many people that I respect ask me to do it. People that are having problems, big problems. They are having big problems with illness, with cancer in particular.
Despite the executive order, marijuana remains illegal for recreational use at the federal level. But the EO signed by the president will allow for more research into marijuana and expanded medical uses, something that's been advocated by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
Patients and physicians attest that cannabinoids and THC can have miraculous effects on chronic pain, on epilepsy, on PTSD, on chemotherapy-induced nausea.
24 states and the District of Columbia have already legalized marijuana for both recreational and medical use. While members of both parties have backed looser federal marijuana regulations, 22 Republican senators this week urged the president to keep marijuana's classification in place. They say marijuana still has the potential for abuse and has no proven medical value. At the White House, I'm John Decker.
The Trump administration is moving to cut off transgender care for children. The move is part of a series of regulatory actions unveiled today to effectively ban gender-affirming care for minors. The proposals include cutting off federal Medicaid and Medicare funding from hospitals that provide gender-affirming care to children and prohibiting federal Medicaid dollars from being used to fund such procedures. President Trump's name may be added to another Washington landmark. The Kennedy Center Board voted today to rename the famed Performing Arts Center the Trump Kennedy Center. President Trump replaced the entire board after taking office earlier this year. Despite the board's vote, federal law mandates the facility be called the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts, meaning Congress would have to change the law for the building to officially add Trump's name. Tomorrow marks the deadline for the release of all the Epstein files. Last month, Congress passed a bill that President Trump signed into law ordering their release. Whether the Department of Justice actually unseals the documents is a different story. The House Oversight Committee released a new batch of Epstein photos today ahead of tomorrow's deadline. They show Lolita quotes written on naked bodies and redacted passports. Despite this latest leak, Democrats are not confident they'll see all the files tomorrow.
The administration has gone to the greatest possible political lengths to conceal this information from the American people. There must be something awful in there.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says it's a scary situation, but also says she is not afraid to name names and would walk onto the House floor and say the name of every person involved that abused the victims. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, new details about a former football coach who was fired by a major university.
And in the world of weather, it is raining in eastern Kentucky right now. That will transition into wintry mix in the overnight hours. We'll time everything out coming up.